Hey, everyone, it's Isaya. Welcome. So let me take this image out of the way so you can see our faces. Hello. Hey, everyone. I'm Isaya, and this is Things Women Don't Talk About. It's a new series in my podcast. The podcast is called Isaya's Inspiring Evenings, and my guest tonight is Leslie Ellis. The way it works, this series, it's kind of new-ish. We already have 6 or 7 episodes, I think, but still new. And the idea is to talk about subjects that women don't talk about. And it can be either because it's too difficult, or taboo, or dark, or too sacred, or at the other end of the spectrum, because it's too mundane, because it's not serious enough, because it's too fun, because it's not, relevant to the bigger conversation. I forgot to say, if you're watching us live, you will see the live icon. If you are just listening to us, you might be listening to the replay on my podcast or on all the channels that you can find us. If you're watching us live, you're welcome to comment, and if you have questions or some things you want to say to us, we are here. So, Leslie, let me introduce you properly. So I'm going to be doing the thing where I read your bio because I don't know it by heart. So Leslie is a yoga therapist, a soul-based coach and mentor to spiritual women over 30, helping them to create a life they love, feeling clear, confident, and at ease, being authentically themselves. What a glorious program, I must say. And so thank you very much for being here, first of all.
Excited to talk with
I'm
you.
and so I'm going to have to start by reminding everyone that we live in very different areas of the world. I am tonight recording from Athens, as is definitely shown by the rental image that is behind my head. And Leslie is in California, no, Seattle, Washington.
Oregon, right in between.
Oregon. Yeah, so basically we have a very big time difference, and for me it's very late in the evening, which is a very good time for me to talk about this subject of self-touch. So again, I'm going to introduce the subject, and I'll open up the floor for Leslie to just discuss what are we talking about. So self-touch for women, right? Of course, the naughty-minded, some of you will have immediately gone to one type of self-touch, but where I suggest we start from all the other types of self-touch. So why do you think that this is a subject we don't talk about and that we should be talking about?
Well, one reason might be because the naughty-minded immediately go to the taboo that self-touch means sexual self-touch. And of course, that is a type of self-touch that could be so helpful, so healing, so nourishing for us. But I think the other reason that women don't talk about it might be in part because we don't think about it other than that sexual self-touch. And I really look at self-touch as a very, very important part of self-care. Yeah.
Self-care. Oh, yeah, that's really, it changes immediately the perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
From this kind of hidden thing. Ooh, let's not talk about that. Even if we do it, let's not talk about that. When you add the word self-care, now it becomes something that I feel like, oh, have I been doing that? Have I been taking care of myself in that respect? Um, and why do you think it is that we disconnect self-touch from self-care?
Well, I think a lot of times when people think about self-care initially, they think about I'm supposed to eat well, supposed to like take general good care of myself, take a bath, brush my teeth, all those kinds of things, and I'm supposed to exercise. And that is in a way like that physical self-care, it can be perceived very limited like that. If I'm eating well, I'm trying to be healthy, I'm moving my body, getting some exercise, and a lot of people really like push their bodies for exercise. then that is the extent that we think of as physical self-care. And there's all the other pieces like developing, self-appreciation and love and all of that. And I think sometimes people try to go at that from the mental and the emotional level. But to me, self-love really like starts at the physical, at the base of like loving this body, right? This body, it is you, or at least it's the way that you get around and get to live on the planet, right? So depending on how you think about who you are, but yeah, so loving the body. Well, what does that mean? Like, oh, I have to like love my shape or love my size or be okay with myself the way I am. Yes, and love your body.
Yeah, I think I remember reading somewhere years ago that love should be considered as a verb, as an action verb. So how do you act the love for yourself? Well, touching yourself is a very good act of love. We touch our pets or our children or our loved ones to express our love to them. But we very seldom do that to express our love to ourselves. When we express our love, we go from a mental perspective and we write affirmations. I love myself. But actually, you're right. It should be similar to how do I express my love to my child? Well, I hug the person, right? And why don't I do that for myself? Why, when it's for myself, do I immediately go up in my head and disconnect from the simplistic idea of just hugging myself or touching myself and holding my own hand?
Exactly, right. And so many people are just longing for love and for touch. And even in the context of, say, an intimate relationship, you might have touch from an intimate partner, which is wonderful. And there's all the expectations with that add layers to what your experience of it is. When you're touching
Definitely.
your pets, obviously there's all kinds of research studies about people who have pets being healthier because of that touch. But we don't need another. I'll repeat. I'll kind of back up on that. It's absolutely wonderful. We need other people and all of that in our lives, right? But it isn't the only way that we can access all of the benefits of touch, because there are a multitude of benefits, physiologic benefits, hormonal benefits, nervous system, like the way that our nervous system is reacting to the moment, that come from touch, and we can provide some of that to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember having a conversation with a very, very good friend of mine during the hard times of lockdown. When we were in France, we were locked down for almost 7 or 8 weeks completely. And she happens to be living alone. And after a few weeks, we talked very, very regularly on Zoom because she felt really lonely. She was working from home, and but at some point, she said, "And there's the fact that nobody touches me." And I just remember asking, "Do you touch yourself?" And I saw her jaw go like, "No."
Yeah.
It's like, you know.
Right.
Uh,
And again, somebody
and
could think like, well, that means that I have to, try to sexually pleasure myself or whatever. But it's as simple as, if you're feeling lonely and sad, like, do you ever just like sit into your chair and give yourself a little hug? Or do you, massage your scalp and let yourself actually just kind of appreciate that? Let the feeling of your hands on your skin and like moving through your hair have an impact. It's like,
yeah.
it's so soothing to the soul. And now you know why my hair looks like it does, right?
And I know that for me, and I think it's the best way to talk about that is to talk about experience. For me, when I was having trouble sleeping at night, for various reasons that we're not going to go into now, I just lifted my t-shirt. I sleep in a t-shirt or something of the sort, and just caressed my thigh, just the outside of it, in a completely non-sexual way, like very stroking, very calming thing. And I did that at that precise spot because it meant that my hand was fully relaxed. I didn't want to bring it up, and have my muscle working because I wanted to fall asleep. And it was just like magic, literally like magic. I would
Yeah.
concentrate on feeling what I was doing to myself, basically.
Yeah.
And that would be like a 2 minute poof, and I would go fall asleep. And that. So when you suggested we talk about that, I thought, yeah, absolutely. And we need to remind everyone that this is available at any time.
Right, right. I love that you share that you could, lie in bed and just do that simple stroking on the thigh, like to find some place on your body that feels comfortable for
Yeah,
you. So it doesn't have to be anything in particular. What I find, um, like sitting up, when if I'm feeling a little overwhelmed or confused or just trying to get myself centered, that even just a like simple stroke down the arm, is nice. Or, when people are anxious or nervous, we know that they wring their hands, right? So that's kind of a innate response to that angst that we might have. So you can take that and actually turn it into a hand massage. So if
yeah.
you're feeling, anxious and upset, it's like, okay, well, massage your hands, lotion or not, just get your thumb into the palm of your hand and start taking some deep breaths and being more present with what is and what your body is feeling, because your body has so much information
Yeah.
for you. And again, we try to go mentally to solve our problems and figure out what's happening. And the more tools that we have, and self-touch is one of the tools to land in the body, the more empowered
Hmm.
we are for living in the way that we want to live, for figuring out the things, and like we figure it out from a different place in the
Yeah,
self.
and I think we have to remember also that we're not talking woo woo here. We're talking science, right? Because
Yeah,
when you are when anyone is being touched and caressed, the endorphins kick in. So who does the caressing is irrelevant at this point, and so it does create good hormones in your body or happy hormones in your body, which means that basically it will create more feeling of happiness,
yeah,
or feeling good at least. So
yeah.
it's not, a complete, spiritual woo woo thingy. It's very, very practical, I think, and
Very
very
practical.
scientific.
Yeah, very practical, very scientific. There's all of the feel good hormones, but the one hormone I often think of is oxytocin, which
Yeah.
is the love hormone, the hormone of connection. And we think about that sometimes, like I have to be connected outside of myself. It's the mothering hormone, right? It's the hormone that is strong in mothers. But touch helps to stimulate the production of oxytocin in the brain. And
That's
so
amazing.
when you're sitting like with yourself, and so many people say, well, I want to know myself better. I want to be more connected with myself. But like, what does that mean? On a physiological basis, you can start to stimulate that hormone, that brain
Hmm.
response of connection, and then it triggers all of those other feel-good hormones too, the serotonin, the dopamine, and reduces the stress hormones.
Yeah.
So it's like a magical cascade that you get.
Yeah. Yeah. And it starts with just kind of trusting that you are enough to do that to yourself.
Hmm. Hmm.
And of
Yeah,
course, it's great to have other people, but not other people or pets or children are not always available. Whereas my
exactly.
hand is always available, basically,
Right.
or my arms are always available, or I'm suffering more or less, depending on the years, from psoriasis. So
Mhm.
very early on, in my life when this happened, which was not early as a matter of fact, but very soon after it started happening, I realized that I could make any lotion or cream application or ritual, whatever you want to call it, an act of self-care and self-love.
Beautiful.
And it's every time I do have to apply cream, and that's often because this is a disease that really dries the skin very much. So there's a lot of creaming myself, and every time I do that, it's like, yes, this is me taking care of me, and both the giving part and the receiving part.
Mhm.
Are in action. And that's also, I believe, I don't know if you're going to agree with that. We didn't discuss prior to this conversation, but for me, the fact that I am the giver and the receiver when I do self-touch is also a way to harmonize the masculine and the feminine in myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah. And
indeed,
that,
sorry, I'm not
no,
going.
oh, I
No,
was just thinking,
just that, that
like the idea of the harmony, like bringing the masculine and the feminine together, and I think also that it's like in that harmonizing, what happens too is some of the elements of our kind of our nature to want to fix things and also to criticize things and to see what's wrong really gets balanced out. Because I was thinking as you were talking about having psoriasis and like putting cream on and having that intention and consciousness about being the giver and the receiver of self-care.
Mhm.
Where a lot of times, think about this, like a lot of things when women put lotion on, say if there was psoriasis, a lot of times what would be happening is, oh, why do I have this? Oh, this is such a terrible
Yeah.
thing that's happening. Oh, I've got to like fix this. I hope this finally takes care of it. Or even something more simple like, oh, the skin of my legs is so stinking dry. I'm always having to put
Mm.
on lotion. And so
Yeah. Yeah,
it's like, yeah, yeah, or if
and
it's good.
it can very easily become a chore.
Exactly. Right. Right. And all we have to do is make that little shift in intention, and it can
Mm.
become an act of self-love and of self-care. And which is more healing and supportive and like helpful to having the life that you want when you're, you know, critical of yourself and it's a chore, or you're taking good
Yeah,
care of yourself. Yeah.
obviously. And then so we have the good hormones that kick in, and it's like a cascade, like you were saying. There is no downside. Basically, there is no downside. So,
Yeah.
and then there is also one thing that for me is really, really important. Is what you mentioned earlier in the conversation, that when you practice self-touch, or I practice self-touch, there is no expectations.
Mhm.
Most of the other things that we interact with touch wise, whether it's other people or pets, or there is expectations.
Exactly.
Either they have expectations on me, like I want you to pleasure me, or I have expectations on them. I want, again,
Exactly.
or I desire to feel better, and so this no expectations place, if we can reach it with self touch, is really opening up a very, very peaceful state, for me at least. A space where there is breathing space,
Mhm.
with
Yeah.
no, yeah.
Yeah. And even touch with another that we're enjoying. Say a hug. You got a hug from somebody, maybe your partner. And it's like, oh, this is a nice hug. But so often there's that little bar of, oh, well, if they just put their hands a little bit different, and or if they weren't squeezing quite so hard, or if they'd squeeze a little bit harder, or there's that whole thing of nobody else can actually get it exactly right for you, because you're not in your body. They don't know
Yeah.
exactly what you need in the moment.
Mm.
And so certainly we can let go of it has to be exactly right and just appreciate what it is. But when you do it for yourself,
Yeah.
immediately. It's like there's no feedback. You don't have to tell yourself, like, no, I don't really like it like that. Could you try it like this instead? It's just like
Yeah.
you can immediately respond. How
Yeah.
much pressure do I want? How much touch? How little? Is it more like just really being present in my mind with myself? Is it actually my hands? Like it's so natural.
Yeah,
when you
but
start
there's
putting
also for me, for many people that I've worked with and discussed with, and mostly women, my generation. I don't know about the youngster ones. Hopefully not, but you never know. It's also getting to know what you like and what feels good, and the more you know how your body, the more I know how my body likes to be touched, the more I can interact with other bodies then, um, uh, in a way that is not harmful to my body, and in the way that is respectful of the desires and the way this particular body works. And I know for a fact that we don't all work the same. Things that you would enjoy very much, I might hate. And
right.
it's very important for my generation, at least. Most of us, we were not taught that. So we had to go
No,
into an exploration of what do I like, and of course it led to sexual interaction. Let's put it this way, with myself or with others. But even the mere tenderness thing, I had no idea. Uh, and
yeah,
so, and I'm not. I'm not convinced that today it's so much better, to be honest.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not
Whether it's
convinced that it's, I kind of think that it is a subject that we don't talk about, women or men, but mostly women, because there is this, taboo around sexuality, basically, and anything close to the body is then regarded as sexual. And I'm not fully confident that our society has evolved to the point where young women are taught to explore what their body likes, how they like to be touched, where, and at what moment, because it changes. Let me remind, just for, because that's my thing, right, that we are cyclic as women. So the
yeah,
touch is very, very different for me on, if it's day one of my period, or if it's, I've just finished my period and I feel like this extraordinarily dynamic young woman, a
yeah,
maiden type. So yeah, there's, I think it's how can I say that without being too pompous? It's health and happiness mission for women to get to touch themselves and learn what they like and what their body likes, not exclusively on one particular day, but all over their cycle and their years, and because that evolves with age as well.
hmm hmm and it's such a powerful exploration. And I think I said the word earlier, but it's so empowering because it puts
Yeah.
you in a place of being more more in touch, like, with you. And when you are more in touch with yourself and more confident and at ease with who you are and what you want and what you like, it's so much easier to communicate that in
Absolutely.
a situation with another person, and to drop some of the defenses and the resentments and all of those things that can come up. I think we're sort of enculturated to depend on the touch from others to try
Yeah.
to learn about what we
Yeah.
like. And so then you're in a situation, if you don't like it, you have to confront that somehow or just accept it, right?
Mhm.
Where if you're practicing with yourself, being there with yourself, you get to learn and you get to grow and you get to understand more about it. So again, in those situations where it's like, no, that isn't really right for me, or I like more of that, or how does this feel, like having that kind of conversation and communication, it becomes so much more natural and so much
Yeah,
more easy.
because the more you learn about how you function, the more you trust when you feel that you need to express something that is not good for you, basically.
Exactly
Um,
right.
so yeah, so we started with the idea that we have to get down, basically, out of our heads and into our bodies, to be more present, and then it's about this exploration. Do you think you have somewhere to start? So for someone who's listening today and saying, "Oh yeah, good idea, but how do I do this? Do I need to light 20 candles? Do I need a full moon?"
Well, those things help. No. No. One of my favorite practices, and it's so simple, and I feel like you can really do it anyway, is just even a hand on your heart. Like that, there's something about that just kind of stops me and makes me go into my body. And it can be, it can even be very informal, it's like you could really do it anywhere. So as a place to start, it's just like that. And it's kind of a reminder, oh, I can check in. How's my body feeling? So maybe it's not just, self-touch. It's like, okay, well, what's happening in my body? For me, my hands are very sensitive. I like to touch things. Like if I take a walk out in nature, I'm like stroking the bark on the trees and picking up the moss and feeling the water. I'm very kinesthetic like that. So that touch feels very natural and feels very helpful. For some people, that isn't as natural. So it may be, excuse me, just, okay, well, how does my body feel? Like, how am I sitting in my chair? What's my breath feel like as it moves through my body? What's that little, that little tingle in my belly or around my heart, and just kind of starting to have a conversation with the body.
Yeah.
And that's really effective too.
Yeah, and I would, if I may add, I would highly recommend to start now, as in you're watching us. You can massage your hands while you're watching us or listening to us. You don't need a full moon, and you don't need 20 hours, and you don't need a meditation of 100 minutes or whatever. The more I'm teaching about connecting with oneself and with the universe as a whole. It's about starting simple, but starting now and keep doing it. Keep enjoying it. But you can, just massage your hands in front of the TV, or as we were saying, the hair thing. I love the hair thing. I just had a haircut actually, and I love when my hair is freshly short, and it feels different, and it feels different for both my head, obviously, and my hand. So again, you have the double pleasure, or the double experience. But it doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be a ritualized practice that somebody leads and that you dedicate hundreds of hours or hundreds of dollars for that. It's just, we hereby give you permission.
There you go. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be as simple as feeling your feet on the ground, or noticing the sort of the drape of your sleeve on your arm. It's those simple things, and kind of opening up to letting them come into your awareness as you move through your day too. I have certain pants that I like that kind of have big swingy legs, and I like the way they feel like swinging on my legs.
Yeah, that's nice.
It can be just the most simple things like that.
Yeah, in the summer, what I like to do is in the morning when I wake up and it's a little too early, I'm all right. I have another 5 or 10 minutes. I will take off my t-shirt or whatever I'm sleeping in and just go back in the bed naked. And it's like, oh, the sheets, and they're hot, and it's completely different with or without a t-shirt. And I can't sleep naked because I'm always refrigerated. That's, but the 5 minutes or the 10 minutes that I give myself when I have time in bed naked is, and where the sheet does touch and where it doesn't, where it's just my skin towards against my skin, simple things.
Yeah. The moment you step in the shower, instead of like getting right into like doing whatever, it's just like to take a moment and go like, oh, warm water. Wow.
Yeah.
How that feels on my body. And I think that sometimes that we might do that, but to bring it more to consciousness,
Yeah.
we'll start bringing it more to consciousness, like through the day naturally. Like you start noticing more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that mostly it's about, because we feel the touch all the time, right? Even with ourselves, we have clothes, we have, and we touch our hands when we wash them, or we go like this. So it is indeed about bringing that to the consciousness, and if I may add, the gratitude that we can have this experience with our body, and that our body is there to enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that like appreciation of our capacity to have pleasure and to
Yeah.
have experience and to have feelings and to have bodies that like are so um, alive,
Yeah.
and can really respond to all these seemingly little things. You talked earlier, you asked me about why don't we talk about this? It might also be because it goes towards that kind of mundane realm
Yeah.
of things that it's
Yeah,
so
it seems like there is an either or situation. It's either I am a spiritual person or I am a body person, but it doesn't have to be. And I think it definitely is not. It's
yeah, and
and we can experience the magic of spiritual connection in our bodies because we actually live in it
yeah,
for now, for this lifetime.
yeah. My
Um,
experience so far is that spiritual connection only comes when I actually remember that I have a body. I don't know about only comes, but it's like it's wildly enhanced. It's wildly expanded when I'm present in my body, my sense of spiritual connection. Yeah.
Yeah, uh, I believe we are conduits. So we are conduits from the ground, from Mother Earth to Father Sky, and Father Sky to Mother Earth, and the conduit only exists because there is a body to conduit.
Yeah.
So if we're not connected.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a comment. Somebody says, I think it's Mac that says, I think it's a spectrum touch, and I agree. There is, all the various possibilities, because that's
Yes.
the other thing that scientifically that we have so many sense or touch connect little
Nervous.
thingies. I don't know how they're
Nervous.
called, but
Yeah.
that there is an endless possibility of different feelings basically with the touch.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we need to end this conversation kind of soon because we're talking. But also, I would definitely not want to end it without talking about straight masturbation because we said things women don't talk about. So I want to put my foot in it, and I want to, yeah, because again, we're fighting millennia of oppression towards masturbation, and mostly for women, and that part has to be also taken into consideration when we're talking about non-sexual self-touch,
Mhm.
because part of the reason why we forbid ourselves to self-touch is linked to the taboo of sexual self-touch, i.e. masturbation.
Yeah.
So again, very good for your health. Releases endorphins. Go for it.
Yeah. 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 And I guess, going from there, then I would say too, there's that, and it's a place where you can actually take your time.
Yeah.
And, I think that a lot of times masturbation becomes like, oh, I've got to like get myself to an orgasm as soon as possible. It's like that there's kind of like trying to release energy. And there is that energy release is great. And taking your time, really, again, letting it be a process of getting to know yourself, what you like, what's enjoyable to you, what really does feel good, um, is so uh,
Empowering, I guess.
empowering.
Again.
Yeah, empowering. That word came. I was seeing if there was another word, but it's so um, there's just a quality of reverence that I think that you can begin to feel about your own self and your own being that again helps you to sit up a little bit more in that feeling of being powerful and in charge of your life and
Yeah.
confident about what you're doing and
And then
calm.
you can have a conversation with your loved one if if the case arises, and be clear about
Yeah.
what you like and what's good for you and what's not.
Yeah.
As far as words are concerned, I had, so I did in my years of crazy life, because I've been doing many things. I was a tantric, how do you say that? Student to start with, and then a tantric master. And one of my mentors used to say that instead of saying, I masturbate, she used to invite us to say, I honor myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's beautiful. It's kind of, yes, indeed, I honor this body that I am in, and I give myself pleasure, which is a sacred act as well.
Yeah, it is definitely a sacred act. And again, like I think you said it was Mac, like Mac said, then it's a spectrum, and we get to really appreciate more of the full spectrum of what it is to be in a human body, to be a woman in a human body, to enjoy and appreciate all the different experiences this body can give us. And so it becomes not just one thing or one goal or one aspect. It really helps to bring us, if we go back to that spiritual, more into that sense of completeness, of wholeness, and of connection.
Yeah, so many beautiful things to experience with oneself. And I think that, we have to acknowledge the amount of taboo there, because it's kind of, and I guess it's the patriarchy, that wanted no woman to be self-loved, self-absorbed, and so obviously we got
Or even
brainwashed.
self-reliant,
Yeah, self-reliant. Yeah, exactly.
build all of those. I mean, that really is part of that oppression, right? That you must be dependent on somebody else.
Yeah.
As a woman, not only that, but you're the property of, and so
Yeah.
this is really an opening.
And basically, you're not supposed to have any pleasure yourself. You're there to pleasure somebody else.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a reconquista, as the Spanish would say. and as I was saying earlier on, I do believe that it's still not widely spread, that this thing we're talking about is not yet common sense, or and so again, we hereby give you permission.
Normalize it. It's normal.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Is there anything specific you'd like to add concerning that subject, which we can, obviously, in which case you're welcome.
I think we've covered a lot, and I would just go, to kind of reinforce what you said too, that permission. If permission from the outside is needed, here it is. But
Yeah.
also, like, really sitting into that permission for exploration,
Yeah.
and for taking the
And give,
time to develop a relationship.
yeah, and give yourself permission, indeed. And Mag is saying that she was brought up as a Catholic, so sexuality being then even more concentrated on having children and nothing else.
Right.
So, well, thank you very, very much. It's been amazing to talk with you. I highly invite everyone to come and visit you all over the place. So you will find Leslie's info below the video or below the podcast if you're watching. You can find her website, her Facebook with the straight links, and her Instagram. She also has an amazing Facebook group called Heart Song Yoga Soul Searchers. And again, all the links will be in there, so don't panic if you can't see them.
Well, thanks for sharing. I really invite anybody to reach out. I love connecting with people and just hearing what's going on in our lives, and questions, and connecting in that way.
Awesome. Well, I'm so happy to have talked about that with you. And so the next episode is going to be next month. So we have one per month. And I don't precisely remember right now what we'll be talking about. So you just have to come and join. But thank you very much, Leslie. And because I think it's a fundamental subject. I think it's more than just, a 20-minute conversation. And I might even do a whole series about that, or re-invite you again every 6 months to just reiterate because I think it's
I love it.
we've been brainwashed so much in the other direction that coming back to that and to the idea that when I go like this, it does me good.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Thank you
Yes.
very much. And again, you will find, so if you're listening to us, you will find the info about Leslie all over the place. And enjoy. Enjoy getting communication and a connection with your body, and enjoy the peace and the space that you create for yourself.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.